Man, there's a lot of cat hair on this. To you, cat. Hello everybody and welcome to Tech Uploaded. I am Chris as always, and today it's time for more fun with keyboards. And yes, this time, it's definitely something a little bit more high-end from the last thing I looked at. This is the, look at that, makes the frame and everything. The Logitech G810, kind of shiny. So if you're at all familiar with this channel, you know that my reviews aren't super professional. It's just me, the product, my experience, and how I felt about it, which really, I guess, constitutes a review, but I tend to be a little more laid back about the whole experience. So why on earth did I replace my keyboard? I was perfectly happy with this guy over here. More cat hair. It's the beauty of mechanical keyboards. You can be a little rough with them. So anyway, this was the keyboard that I was using for a long time. It's cheap. It's just a Rosewell brown mechanical switch keyboard. Doesn't do anything fancy. It's not backlit. It's not anything. It doesn't have macros. It doesn't do fancy stuff. It does have a detachable USB cable, which was nice. But, you know, I kind of got the bug. I wanted to upgrade to something with a little more pizzazz. So I got my Google on and I kind of started looking around. I remember being interested in the Logitech RGB keyboards like a year ago or whenever they, you know, were kind of really popular. And then I saw that they had this new thing out with a new switch, the Rgb. So, of course, I was intrigued because I'm always interested in different things. So I contacted Logitech to see if they would be willing to send me a review sample. They said no, but they did throw a discount my way. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. So just throwing that out there, full disclosure, I did get a discount on this keyboard. So in case anybody out there wants to get upset or say that I'm having a bias or something, I'm just putting that out there, take it for what you will. At first, I didn't understand the whole excitement behind mechanical switches. I didn't get it. Then I got my first mechanical keyboard, fell in love. A lot of people do. So I think I had a brown keyboard first and it worked well for a while and then it broke. And I think that was my fault. I don't remember the fate that came of that. And then I ended up getting another one at home. I think it was this Rosewell one, but then I wanted one at work. So I'm like, I gotta have a keyboard at work. So I went and asked the IT department and they said, no, you'll use the keyboard that we give you. I didn't like the keyboard that they gave me. So I figured this is gonna be my dime. I'm gonna go find something cheap. So I went on Monoprice and they had a blue Cherry MX blue keyboard, fairly cheap. And I was like, good enough. I got that. It was fine, but it was clicky, as blue switches are. But I didn't know they were that clicky. So I didn't really think this would be a problem until we converted the conference room across from my office into an office for my assistant. She was getting really annoyed. So I ended up getting rid of that, got an MX Brown. MX Brown at home, something happened to that we switched them out. I think I got another Rosewell. The Rosewell came home. Long story short, I've been through a lot of mechanical keyboards. Here's the keyboard. The cord's a little short, can't quite get it fully into the frame, but thankfully, I did get some close-ups of this keyboard. So you can kind of see that the keys themselves are illuminated and nothing behind the keys is illuminated. So that's really interesting. But the key throw, it's very quiet. And this microphone picks up quite a bit. So other than the sounds the computer's making, it's pretty quiet. But the thing about this keyboard is the key throw on the Rgb switch is really, really short. So before I go into any of the features of the keyboard, let's check out Rgb on Logitech's website. All right, so let's talk about the Rgb switch for a little bit here because this is kind of a whole different mechanical switch mechanism versus what you're probably used to. So you can see here, it does say that it's 25% faster, and it's saying the Rgb mechanical switch it articulates at a distance of 1.5 millimeters. So this thing activates very quickly. It takes very little press on the key to actually get this to go. And it is a 45 gram actuation. So it is basically near instant, and they're not kidding. It really is. The slightest touch of one of these keys will set it off. So it does take a little bit of getting used to kind of get situated with this keyboard. Smooth, confident, accurate keystrokes. Once you get used to it, yeah, you kind of see a graphic here of how the lighting system actually works on this particular keyboard. It's got the LED kind of like built into the actual switch mechanism. And that is what allows there to be very little light bleed on this keyboard. You don't really see lighting coming from underneath the keys like you do with a lot of other backlit keyboards. Really, the only thing lighting up here is the keycap itself, and that's kind of how they were able to pull that off. 70 million keystrokes is what they're basically saying that you're going to be able to get off of this keyboard, which is 40% more durable than the majority of what they're probably comparing to the MX Cherry switches. So it's definitely an interesting technology. You can see here it does show, you know, as far as how fast this is versus a rubber dome, a standard mechanical, and your Romer G switch. So assumes finger speed of 300 millimeters per second to get that equation, but it's a new technology. It's going to take some getting used to. It is incredibly touchy. So if you're a touch typist, that's where you're probably going to feel it the most with this technology here. You really have to get used to very little force being applied to each key for the keyboard to register an input, because that is something that definitely does take a little bit of getting used to. But once you do, you find your typing actually does speed up a little bit, but I'm still finding I make a few more errors with this keyboard than I do with, say, my Cherry MX Brown. So basically, long story short, that key throw being so short and touchy and different took me a little while to get used to, but once I got there, I kind of started liking it. Gaming, on the other hand, there is an airplane flying overhead and it's fairly low. Gaming honestly didn't really seem all that different to me. However, I'm not playing games where like milliseconds matter. I play Doom, but I don't play it on the hardest setting. Everything else I play is kind of laid back. So for me, this really wasn't a gaming kind of thing. It was just an overall usage kind of thing. And I found that using it for typing, once I got used to it, I really started to enjoy it. However, like I said when I was kind of going over the technology, my typing sped up, but my errors also increased. And I'm still kind of in that zone, but it's getting better. It's definitely a learning experience. It's more of a learning curve going from MX switches to this Romer G switch technology than it was actually going from the MX switches to like the faux mechanical system that was in that first player cheap keyboard I looked at. This is quite a departure from what you're used to if you've been using MX Cherry Brown, Cherry Red probably, I've never used those, or Cherry Blue. It's just a very different experience. It's incredibly, incredibly touchy. It's like a hair trigger. The slightest tap on a key will set it off. However, it's quiet, it's accurate, and I really like the built-in features of this keyboard. And that's what I'm gonna go over now, the software and how you can customize this keyboard to your liking. Well, all right, so here is the software, the Logitech gaming software. You can see I can choose between either my webcam or the G810 keyboard. And this is kind of the landing screen here. This is where you're gonna go when you first launch the software. And basically you can just kind of click in here somewhere and jump through all of these commands along the bottom, depending on what you press in the home screen. For example, if I click up here, I'm now in the light settings mode. So let's go home, and then the next stop will be over here. This is actually to set your profiles, and you have pretty much endless possibilities in here. You can assign all the different keys and things like that to different commands. You've got the function keys. You can set those for a command. You can assign a command. You can do keystroke, multi-key, text block, mouse function. You can have it do media. You can set different hotkeys. I mean, there's all kinds of customizability you can do in here. And you can pretty much assign a good majority of the keys to these things. So if you really want to set a unique, interesting profile, this is definitely the area to do that. Now, moving on from there, because you can really get lost in all that, is the fun part for the RGB portion of the keyboard. So here is just kind of a me playing around setup. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and reset this all to white. And you can see I just kind of selected what I wanted to do there, and then it applied that setting. So let's say I wanted to do something unique here, and I wanted, you know, all of these items up here to be like a darker color. And then let's see, maybe we'll lighten it up a little bit, and we'll do that for this row of keys. And, you know, let's say that I want to highlight some of these keys. So I'll make, you know, the W, S, A, and D. And then I use C and V a lot in my editing software, so I'll highlight those. And now the keyboard just has this unique color profile to it that's, you know, special just for me. And I can kind of go through and program this however I want. And, you know, say I'm using a specific piece of software and I want to know certain key combinations do certain things. This is where I could definitely do that. So you have that option. You also have this zones function. So you can kind of go through and change these different zones and say what you want each key to do. You see I'm clicking on things, it's changing the colors. So yeah, it's really interesting. You can go through and just have that entire zone turn off. I can uncheck keys within a certain zone. Take them out of the zone. I can apply a setting to that whole zone. So this is kind of where you can go through and program things in a little bit more of a controlled environment. And then you do have your lighting zones that you can set up here. You can play around with those. You can add a new zone. There's really just a whole lot you can do. You can even set your RGB numbers to exactly what you want them to be. Now I did find that the keyboard does tend to be a little bit on the blue side. So even white kind of has a little bit of a blue tint to it. And then you do have these special effects. So the first one you're gonna have is just fixed color, and that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a fixed color, so you can just go through and change the keyboard to whatever you like. When I'm on fixed color, I prefer just to kind of leave it on white, but you can go through, you can have the keyboard breathe, so it's just gonna kind of fade in and fade out softly. You can have it do a star effect, which is kind of trippy, but you know, cool if it's really dark in the room, I suppose. You can do color cycle, which this one's not too bad. Sometimes I leave this one on, just it's a little bit soothing. I kind of like it. You can adjust how fast or slow these different things kind of work. Color wave is what this comes with programmed by default, and it's really trippy. So one of the first things you're gonna wanna do when you get this keyboard is actually install this software, because this one's really kind of crazy, and you can change, you can have it go vertical, you can have it do from the center out. So yeah, this one's pretty busy and, to be honest, fairly distracting. And then I really think this one's cool. This is key press. So you can set with the key press color and the key press background. And then as you type, the keys are going to light up. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my default profile. I like this one, but I'm gonna move on over here. These are the keys that you can actually set disabled during gameplay, and you can even control the keys up here as well. So you can go and turn these set of keys off or this set of keys off if you didn't want to accidentally hit any of those, or say you want to disable the num lock. You can go through here. Obviously the big ones it's going to do by default are going to be the Windows function keys that could if you accidentally press them, could take you out of game. So those are the defaults to have on when you hit that particular key to kind of take you into the gaming profile. And finally, this is pretty interesting. This will actually record what you're doing on the keyboard. So I did a little bit of a test. So if you're just typing, you can actually hit go and then just type. And you can see it's keeping track of the key presses per minute. And I'm just hitting a lot of random keys here. But when you get done, you can see when you hit stop, what keys you were hitting the most and what keys you were hitting the least. Now, this could be interesting if, say, you're gaming and you're doing the WSAD, and the keys will actually light up depending on how many times you hit them. The more times you hit the key, the more the color is going to change on that key to tell you that you're hitting that key a lot. Like right now, I'm just totally slamming the F key, and you'll see that that one lights up as a heavy press. 49 all the way down to 1. So it'll show you which ones you're hitting the least, which ones you're hitting the most. Kind of interesting. And you can also do it so it'll time you as well. So there's just a lot you can do in the software. Obviously you have your different settings, your profiles you can go into. It's pretty advanced software. It actually does quite a bit for, just a keyboard. And it really does take advantage of that RGB lighting profile that you have on here. So yeah, this is it's pretty good software. It's been pretty reliable. I've tried it out in games. It does work. The keyboard shortcuts work. You can set your macros. It's just really kind of a nice full-fledged software package in my opinion. So as you can see, there is a lot you can do with this keyboard in the software. And I think that's really the big selling point for the Logitech keyboards in general, is if you're a gamer, you can really set a lot of different things. And actually having the ability to program keys to do certain functions is really handy in certain applications as well. I kind of liken it to, the favorites that I set up in like Adobe Audition to automatically process an audio file a certain way. It'll go through a whole series of events. I can kind of set up the macro in there. You can do similar things with this keyboard. You can set the lighting how you want it. I've got mine so the WASD, you know, is lit, and then C and V is also lit because those are two common keys that I use when editing for the cut and the select tool. I've got, you know, dark blue lighting and then white lighting and red and yellow and all kinds of different things going on the keyboard. You know, I can set it depending on what application I'm using to have different profiles that I can select that light up just the keys that I need if it's really dark in the room or something. So there's a whole lot you can do with this keyboard as far as really making it exactly how you want it to be. You know, the nice function of being able to turn off certain keys when you're in game mode, being able to have profiles for different games, all that stuff is really, really nice. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the experience of the keyboard itself. The keyboard is sturdy. It feels solid. That's what you want in a mechanical keyboard. Some of the things I'm not a huge fan of, and you know, aesthetically, I don't like that it has this reflective plastic on the sides. That's not, I'm trying to, yeah, there you go. Now you can see it. I just don't like that. It's matte on the top, which is good because that would drive me nuts if this wasn't matte. But I just don't like, glossy plastic. I just don't. I think there's no place where glossy plastic is okay in this day and age. It's a fingerprint magnet. It scratches easy. I don't like it. It should go away in my opinion. But that said, it feels sturdy. The feet on the keyboard are pretty darn robust. You can hear that they, you know, they're pretty legit. So that's good because I need my keyboard slightly elevated. And I've actually had keyboards, usually the cheap ones given to me at work, that break, the feet break just from normal typing. That's not acceptable. So that's good. The buttons being round, the function buttons like volume and volume and your media keys and stuff, I kind of prefer those to be square, but that's just me. Totally my opinion on that one. What other things bother me about this? The USB cord is attached. I don't know if you can see that here. It's kind of hard with this lighting, but it's attached to the keyboard. You can't take it out. And that was one thing with even this cheap Rose Bowl keyboard. It had a detachable cord, which was great if you did something unfortunate to your keyboard's cable, like, I don't know, say a cat chewing through the cable, or rolling over it with your chair, or doing something crazy. It's always good to be able to replace the cable. I'm a big fan of that in headphones as well for that very same reason. So I wish that you could actually remove the USB cable from the keyboard. That at this price point, I think is something that should just be a thing. Speaking of the cat. But other than that, I'm really having a hard time finding anything about this keyboard that I don't like. I love the software package. I love the build quality. It feels good to type on. The keycaps feel nice. There's no light bleed coming through from underneath if that's the thing that bothers you. The RGB lighting is very nice. Like I said, it is a little on the blue side. So white isn't like true white, but that seems to just be an issue with LEDs in general, because the light strip I have in my kitchen to light things up at night is the same way. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the keyboard, but know this, if this is your first mechanical keyboard, you'll probably be okay, but it's gonna seem really touchy coming from like a membrane style keyboard. If you're coming from a mechanical keyboard that's like a red, brown, or blue based switch, you know, the older style, you're going to notice this keyboard is incredibly touchy. Not that it's a bad thing, but it is definitely a learning curve situation. So that's the one kind of warning that I issue for this keyboard is know going into it that this is going to feel very different. So there you have it. My experience with the G810 Orion Spectrum keyboard from Logitech. If you like colors and you like really sensitive keys and you like your keyboard to be fairly quiet for a mechanical, I think you'll be pleased with it. I think I'm gonna keep using it. I wasn't sure if I was gonna go back to the MX Brown. I have another blue switch that's not an MX switch based keyboard I'm gonna be looking at, and then this one. So I have choices, but I really am getting super used to this. So I think this may be the winner, at least for a while in my setup. You know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button. You can also follow me on the social medias over on Twitter and Instagram as Tech Uploaded. You can also shoot me an email at techuploaded@gmail.com and join the Facebook community at facebook.com/techuploaded. As a matter of fact, go over to Facebook and go over to Twitter and leave a comment over there on what keyboard you are using and your preferred switch style. I'm curious. I'm wondering what everybody's out there, you know, using and enjoying. I know personally for me, I think my favorite switch is MX Brown. And you know the drill. Don't be a stranger. Check back soon.